What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Kickin' Bass TV. Today we're up at the 33rd annual Three Lakes Ice Fishing Tournament, and today's day one. So stay tuned, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Alright guys, so this weekend we headed up to Granby for the 33rd annual Three Lakes Ice Fishing Tournament. It's our second year fishing the tournament, but this year we've got a bunch of family and friends with us, so we decided to stay at the Columbine Cabins up in Grand Lake. Now, shout out to Gail at Columbine Cabins for giving us a great deal on their Moose Suite, which was the biggest cabin available on the property, and we were really impressed by the cool rustic mountain vibe here. We got a huge living room complete with a fireplace, flat screen, Wi-Fi, board games. We had a fully furnished kitchen with everything you need to prepare your meals. You got 3 queen size pull-out sleeper sofas in the living room. We've got a ton of room in the hallway and landing area here for additional luggage, storage, and whatnot. 2 queen size beds in the front room with a linen closet, separate bathroom, master bedroom with 2 queen size beds, another flat screen TV, a full bath with a nice size shower that doubles as a sauna, and then last but not least, you got the hot tub out back if you're willing to brave the cold. Day one, we got out around 6 a.m., fired up the snowmobiles, loaded up all of our fishing gear onto the sleds, and once we were packed and ready to go, we hit the lake and we headed towards our first spot to set up and start doing a little fishing. We started out over in front of Deer Island, which is great for a little bit of everything. You've got some structure over here, you've got shallow water tapering off from the island itself. Right here where we're at, we've got a nice little flat with about 30 feet of depth, and then it tapers down to another 60 to 80 feet. It didn't take very long, and I had my first laker on the line, so I decided to head over to the weigh-in and ended up being the first person to weigh in a fish this year. Only weighed about 1.68 pounds, which in my experience isn't quite enough to keep you in the rankings, with most of the top 8 lakers usually landing around 2 to 2.5 pounds. So it was cool to be the first person to weigh in a fish, but we still had some work to do, at least if we were going to place. So we headed back over to our spot, busted out the grill, and decided to fillet that guy up that we just caught, as well as boil some brats and a little bit of beer that we brought with us. Now, once the grill was hot enough, we threw the brats on the grill along with the fish, seasoned those up with a little bit of butter and some seasoning, just wrapped them in some foil, threw them on the grill, and let them steam there for about 15 minutes while we got our lines back in the water. On day 2, we decided to head out over on the southeast end of the lake and start out over by McDonald Cove, which proved to be a pretty decent spot, produced a number of fish for us throughout the day. Now, this first one ended up being a little too big for me to turn in. It's about 21.5 inches, but it was fun to catch nonetheless. Now, I caught this one in about 50 feet of water on 6-pound test, ultralight rod, and I'm just using a split shot setup here with a hook and a weight. Lower visibility was what I was going for, and it ended up being key in producing about 6 or 7 fish for us that day. Now, the second one, a little bit better. This one, caught this in the same depth, around 45, 50 feet of water on that same split shot setup with a little bit of sucker meat. And this time it was about 17.5 inches, and we shot it up to the weigh-in. Now, I ended up being the first person to weigh in a fish on day 2 as well, which was cool, but once again, wasn't quite the weight that I was looking for. This one ended up weighing in at 1.75 pounds, and like I said, you need to have about 2 pounds even to stay in that last couple of spots. So we filled out our paperwork, got that fish weighed in, and then we headed back over to our spot to do a little work and see if we could upgrade that fish before the end of the day. About 20 or 30 minutes after I got back from the first weigh-in, and I had another decent laker on. Same situation, 50 feet of water, fishing right above the bottom with a little bit of sucker meat on that split shot rig. This time it was just a little bit bigger, at least enough so that I thought I could upgrade that fish. So I headed up to the weigh-in station, ended up being 18 inches long, weighing in at 1.9 pounds, which is just a little bit shy of that 2-pound mark that I was shooting for. But I did have my fingers crossed that 1.9 would be enough to keep us at least in 8th place. Unfortunately, as you can see, we ended up getting edged out by the end of the day at 2.09 pounds. We finished out the day at that spot over past McDonald Cove, and unfortunately didn't get into a whole lot more. I ended up catching one more Laker before the end of regulation time, but unfortunately he was no bigger than the ones that I had already turned in, and we already had enough to eat for that night, so we decided to put that guy back in the water. Day 3, we had a little bit of a rough start. We got out a little bit late. We went all the way to Columbine Bay, but only caught a couple of 15-inch Lakers, so we ended up moving around. By 2 p.m., time had already expired for the tournament, and we decided to spend the rest of the day just kind of cutting loose on the snowmobiles and having a little bit of fun. We ended up staying out till about 5:30, just enjoyed the sunset over the mountains, rode the snowmobiles around until dark, and we headed back to the cabin to check out. Now, we didn't end up winning anything this year other than a door prize that our buddy Jeff picked up, but we did have a great time as always. If you haven't already, we recommend you guys check out the Three Lakes Ice Tournament in Granby, and hopefully we'll see some of you guys up there next year. That's going to do it for the video today, guys. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor and hit that like button down below. As always, the best way to support the channel is to hit that subscribe button. You can hit that bell notification to stay up to date with our newest content. And as always, leave me a comment down below because I'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, I'm D with Kickin' Bass TV.
Subscribe!